off that exhausting hamster wheel and into balanced living with Dr. Marissa.
Promise you joy in the mystery.
Dr. Marissa, also known as the Asian Oprah. Her mission, to be a beneficial presence on the planet. Her purpose, to be your personal advocate to live, laugh, love, learn. Her life motto, don't die wondering. Take back your life with Dr. Marissa Pei.
And welcome. You're tuned into Take My Advice. I'm not using it. Get balanced with Dr. Marissa, the morning show here on KCAA, NBC News, CNBC News, and the NBC Sports Radio station, AM 1050, FM 106.5, and streaming everywhere. iHeartRadio, Spotify, Stitcher, iTunes, TuneIn, Audible, Amazon Music, Tiki Live, Rumble, Podchaser, Streaker, Spreaker, and more. Why so many places? Because I want to maximize my splatter zone for more hope and happiness, because there's no gossip on this show, no scandal, and no K-words, no Kanye talk at all, formerly or now. Instead, I want you to focus on your own reality show and how you can be happy 88% of the time. And if you missed any of my past 1,183 shows, well, you're in luck. On my YouTube free subscribe channel, there's also other ways you can subscribe and get a little bit more of me during the week, but it's open to you for all of the shows. And I think I was doing podcasts before they even called them podcasts. And I keep adding new things. And this last year, one of the wonderful things I've gotten to do is get co-hosts to share the load and also to have some repartee with. And of course, Thursday is a very popular co-hosting day because I have Straight Talk with Dr. Marissa and
James Hawthorn. Good morning, everybody.
Good morning to you. It's good to be back. And we'll talk a little bit about that while we have breakfast together and what that encompasses. Those of you who are here for the first time, I see eyeballs rolling in. If you would like to comment or question or anything, or give us the finger, not that finger, but this finger, please do go to my free subscribe YouTube channel where you can do that. And Straight Talk is basically a series where we tell it like it is on a variety of topics. James, what are we talking about today?
Today, we are talking about no K words, but we're going to talk about the J word, jealousy.
The green word.
Yeah, that's right.
I'm very excited about it because I've never done research on jealousy. And I'm interested to see what my assistant Google is going to bring us on that topic. And certainly, as you know, both of us kind of live our lives out loud on this show, and you'll hear some juicy stuff about being green for sure. But before we do that, breakfast consists of taking a bite of my gratitude sandwich, top of the bun. 8 things between the two of us or anybody else who's streaming along. What are you grateful for about things outside of you? And then the bottom of the bun, because I like it on the bottom, is appreciation. What 8 things do you appreciate about yourself? Now, this is a good life habit, a hashtag Blisscipline. I want you to take it, use it, whether you start the day with me or not, because it's a good life habit that will sandwich your day in the most positive way. So I'm going to start today for a change because this is the first time I'm seeing Jane since the Dodger game and since I went to Asia and China. I meant to bring the bobblehead over here. I'm grateful that James took me to a Dodger game that unfortunately we didn't win, but it was really funny because I didn't post till the next day on it. And friends of mine were actually there that next day. And they were like, where are you? Where are you? I see you on camera. So that was pretty funny. But I'm grateful that I got to take, that James took me to the Dodger game. As a date, even though he's not straight, but we had a great time. And I wanted to say, xie xie, which is Mandarin for thank you.
What's Mandarin for you're welcome?
不客气.
不客气.
Very good. That means don't mention it. Don't be too polite. Yeah. What are you grateful for?
I'm grateful for these long summer days. I'm really trying to make the most of them because every year I always lament, where did summer go? The days are getting short. When did that happen? So they're already getting shorter. So I'm really trying to make a point of enjoying, the fact that it's light till past 8 p.m. and trying to carve out time each day to be outdoors doing something when it's a little bit cooler and really just soak all that in. So I'm grateful for this time of year.
I'm grateful that my trip to China, Beijing, Shanghai, Taiwan, and Hong Kong was an 11 out of 10 or an 8 out of 8. And it was beautiful. There were so many highlights. If you haven't gone and seen some of my clips, I did not win the bet that I was going to go 3 days short of 3 weeks without posting.
I'm not surprised.
But I did not post as often because I couldn't because of between the firewall and Verizon. It was not as easy, but I realized though, I don't know about you, that's probably why you don't post as much. Basically, I'm working for y'all when I create stuff for your viewing pleasure. I'm not getting, well, I am getting paid from Meta a little bit, but I realized, they got it. They're smart, right? They have people with accounts. It is free, right? But we're creating content for the platform. It never really dawned on me until I was away. But
yeah. I don't know if it's a laziness or for not wanting to post much, or really I think this is more just I'm a doer. I like to just be doing the things rather than posting about them. What can I say? I guess it's that. I guess I get restless.
Yeah. Well, I do both because I'm an overachiever. So
Yes.
But let's go to the bottom of the bottom. What do we like about ourselves? James really didn't like doing this at the beginning because, like many people, we're not comfortable talking about ourselves and how good we are. We're taught not to. But it is my BS, my belief system, that if we cannot approve of ourselves, we're going to have issues walking around looking for likes, literally these days in social media. Instead of knowing who you are and that you're 88% fabulous and 12% of the time you step in it. So I appreciate that I know that I'm not perfect and I no longer try to be perfect, but I do try to keep my stepping in poop limited to 12% or under.
I like that. I like that I'm very consistent in a lot of things. I have had a friend for 17, 18 years, and he says, you're the friend that's the most consistent, meaning that like you've changed the least. And I said, well, I don't know if I like that. I like to think that I'm changing, growing, and evolving. He's like, no, that's not what I mean. The fundamental core of who you are has remained constant even through all these different chapters of your life. And I think I like that. I like being grounded in something so fundamental. And then a more specific application of that is every day I submit myself for every role I'm right for, because I, believe that there's opportunities that are out there if you just look for them. And after so many auditions where you almost make it, you're there, then they go with somebody else. It's so heartbreaking. I submitted myself for some commercial. I didn't even have to audition because it was just a print commercial. It's all about like your expressions and your looks, and there's no dialogue in it. And I ended up booking it. So July 21st through 26th, I'm going to be in Denver shooting a commercial for, I guess it's a motorcycle company. And apparently we're going to be in 4 of the most beautiful places in Colorado. So I'm like, well, that's nice. A nice little paid sightseeing tour. So we'll be shooting some content in some really beautiful places. And I'm so excited for that. And that came from every day, just submitting myself everything I'm right for and just trying to create opportunities. So
My finger wiggling worked then.
Yeah.
That's awesome. And that is, I appreciate that both of us know that no matter what, I split my things to do list into 2 columns. things that I'm supposed to do, and then things I let the friendly universe do for me. And as long as we don't stay in bed with the covers over our head, eating bonbons and feeling sorry for ourselves, and dress up, show up, out there like you are doing, putting yourself out there, then you just never know what is going to happen. So I'm super happy for you on that. And if you like the way he looks and you are a producer or a director, he is more than happy to show you all of them.
What kind of jobs are you trying to help me get here?
Well, you're the one that posted that. I'm in China, and I finally get my Instagram, which is Doc Balance, by the way, and the first thing that pops up is James's nearly naked, beautiful torso, and I'm like, where did that cut off? So I posted, you just never know what your co-host is going to do while you're away.
That's right. I had to take a few pictures to make sure I went as low as possible without getting flagged by Instagram. Because I never post, I wanted to do something fun for my personal training clients, and I had to get some eyes on it for people to take advantage of this promo I was running, because I'm like, who's even looking at my Instagram? I'm never posting. So that was a little ploy, I guess, to get some more eyeballs on. And
it was great. This is what I'm talking about on the sandwich is, hey, if you have something that you are good at, proud of, it's part of your unique gift, talents, and ability, show it off. So kudos to you for that.
I think, well, that's an interesting point that you bring up too. And it also relates to relationships. Humility is great, but if you're overly humble to the point of not appreciating the things about yourself, you can actually go through life, I think, completely unaware even of what some of your greatest strengths are if you're overly humble. So humility is great, but all things in balance. You don't want to be humble at the expense of knowing what strengths you have to put out into the world.
Yeah. And I'm so grateful. I don't think I've told you yet. The talks that I did at the two universities, Shanghai University of Engineering Science and the China Europe International Business School, went very well, to the point that they are looking at having it as a regular course. And it's interesting because they originally wanted me to do a more, leadership communication, which is in my field of organizational psychology. But I've been more and more talking about, how do you be the best you, is by harnessing and directing all of that emotional turmoil that many of us have. That voice that tells you you're not that, all that, the voice that tells you you're not good enough, the insecure voice, the one that, you're afraid to put yourself up there, fear of success, fear of failure. And what's beautiful is I thought that maybe that was just limited for Americans, right? Because I got asked to teach, I'll be teaching in the fall at UCLA again. And it's a course called Leadership, Success, and Happiness. And it's not something that is usually taught in business school, right?
Right.
And so I've come up with this new course that I might be spending a month in China every year, which is super
so cool.
Yeah, and it's it's personal and professional mastery. Thank you. Someone just gave me a finger. Thank you for that finger. And it's really something. If you think about, as entrepreneurs, are you taught in business school, taught in high school? How do you promote yourself in an acceptable way that, that doesn't make you feel like you are being a self-promoter, like a bad thing? And when people call me self-promoter, it used to really bother me. But now it's like, thank you for the compliment, because you can be really good at something, but if you don't take a picture that goes really low and shows off that, beautiful torso, No one's gonna know you're clothed every time you're on set here.
Well, that's true. Yeah, but we're in discussions. I'm gonna take a layer off, an article of clothing off each week. So stay tuned, folks. August is going to be a real hot month. No.
Oh, I've missed being on live. I have to say, this is like super fun. I'm so lucky. I was, I get up in my process before the show, and I love my life. I'm going to get emotional that I get to do this for 636 consecutive weeks. There's nothing like being off for almost 3 weeks to remember why I do this and why I still do this. It's so fun. So thank you, James.
Thank you. Yeah, this has been a lot of fun for me. I've always wanted to.
Uh-oh.
About that.
Oh, I think you got a call.
Yeah, sorry.
Which reminds me, I got to put myself on focus as well.
Yes,
all right.
I'm going to do that too.
Yeah, let's do that.
There we go. Yes, thank you. It's the simple things in life.
Hey, it's good to be popular, but we have to focus now. But thanks for joining us. You're tuned to Take My Advice. I'm Not Using It. Keep Balance with Dr. Marissa, the morning show here on KCAA, the station that leaves no listener behind, AM 1050, FM 106.5, and streaming everywhere. And we're talking about the green monster, the green-eyed monster called jealousy. So if you have any stories or comments, that's what we're going to do. We'll be back in 2 and 2. Don't go away. We'll be right back. And you are tuned into Straight Talk with Dr. Marissa and
James Hawthorn.
And you can hear some very loud stink pot boat right now outside my window. But James, why are we talking about jealousy today?
I was hanging out with, I suggested this topic, and I was hanging out with some friends the other day, and they were now this isn't just a disclaimer. What other people think of me is none of my business, but I do want to put this out there that I'm not a sex party kind of guy, but that is a thing that sometimes people do, and it's common in not common, but it happens here in LA in the gay world. And somebody was describing to me what happens at these parties, and he was like, it only works if you could just not be jealous. So if there's somebody you like, you can't feel any sort of possessiveness towards them because, it's all just open and free. And I just started to get anxious and overwhelmed hearing about it. That's not exactly my vibe. I'm more of a one-on-one kind of guy. But that got me thinking about all forms that jealousy can take. What does it feel like when you're jealous yourself, and where does it come from? And then if other people are jealous of you, how do you manage that in relationship? Just to segue to what you were talking about earlier about, promotion. Sometimes when you're promoting yourself, right, that can be fodder for that can make other people jealous when you're talking about your successes and things. And, to what degree is that your responsibility to mitigate some of that versus how much of it is completely on them for, not managing their own responses, their own, emotions. They are responsible for their emotions. So one thing I hope to discover in today's chat, sorry, this is a long intro, but just such a loaded topic, is there ever a time when jealousy can be helpful or useful? Even though it's an ugly feeling, can it signal us to something valuable? Is there an opportunity for growth through jealousy? Can it ever be a good thing? I want to try to mine for that and see what we come up with, especially with the help of our cashew gallery out there. Are you still muted, Dr. Marissa? I think we lost you on mic there. But until you come back.
Oh, it's me. You know what I did? That
well, you needed it because of that noise.
Yeah, thank you. And I'm talking away. I pulled up from my trusty assistant Google to look at statistics around jealousy just for the halibut. And, as you said, are there any positive things about jealousy? We've got just the headlines. Jealousy is a complex emotion that encompasses feelings ranging from suspicion to rage to fear to humiliation, and it strikes people of all ages, gender. So it's part of being human. So I think it's good for us to look at, are there any times when jealousy is good? Then another one, how to deal with jealousy in modern relationships. That's an interesting one.
And I think that's the key goal right there, Dr. Mercer, how to deal with it, because it is such a, fundamental part of being human. And the common cliche thing to do is say we have to stamp it out and kill it. But if it's a fundamental part of being a human being, I think the question isn't how do you avoid it? I think it's how do you manage it? How do you deal with it? And how do you frame it, since it's going to be this annoying companion that's with you to the day you die,
Yeah. Lots of stuff here. I'm going to stop sharing for a second because, the first half of the show, I'm always interested in personal, our own experiences before we go too much into solution. I wanted to say that the last thing I expected you to say was to talk about the sex parties. So since we're, we want to put the moose on the table, which is my Canadian expression of talking about the elephant in the room, that yes, things are definitely changing when it comes to what is normal, right? I look at, I'm ageless, but I can remember a time where the term premarital sex was a term, right? And that people don't have sex before you get married. And now on Bridgerton, which I finally caught up with because I missed it when I was away, they had one storyline about the second son, and he was having a physical relationship with a woman who was a widow. And all of a sudden, it was her relationship with another guy, and the guy was into him. And I was like, wow, this is one of the big Netflix series, and you're talking about sex parties. And
well, I mean, that's just what inspired, the topic.
No, it's
the jealousy came up, but I never thought of it.
It is something we have to talk about. It is not an aberration anymore, even though if you're fundamental Christian or, this is your example of Sodom and Gomorrah, already the world's going to heck in the handbasket. But the truth is, all of those things, gender expression, all of that is moving to a place where it's not, just to judge something as right or wrong is not useful. Right. Because it's here.
And that's not, indicative of reality. Our brains like to simplify things as black and white so that we can manage our own stress levels. But I believe that the nature of 90% of the world it's gray. It's a little bit complicated. I mean, I think that's just the way it is, and we have to accept that complexity.
Did you notice why I wore this? And
black and white. Look at that.
We didn't even know, but that's exactly why I put this on, because it's not black and white, and we have to. I think to be effective in the world today, the more we can be comfortable with gray, the better. The more we can be comfortable with something that we're not necessarily into, and your reaction is kind of like my reaction too. But I'll have to be honest, 8% of me is a little curious. What is that like? Like, I always say I try everything once, right? Marriage, divorce. I don't know if I'd try a sex party, but it definitely, like you said, you have to be super not attached to a traditional relationship with the person that you're going to this party with and watching them share partners. There's
Right.
of me is like, I can't even imagine if I am in love with someone, how I could feel okay with that. Like if it was just, what is that? You ever had hall sex?
Hall sex?
Uh-huh.
I don't think so.
Okay, that's when you pass each other in the hall and say "fork you."
Okay, yeah.
I
So
got
I'll
you
call in
there.
the look.
I got you there. I haven't told that joke in so long. I'll probably get in trouble for it too. But anyways, I can't imagine. But is it helpful for me to consider that it is possible, or is it better for me to say that's just wrong?
Well, I mean, if you find it, if you think about, if you place yourself there in your mind's eye and you find it nauseating or unappealing, there's no reason to make yourself, do something that you uh, are at completely averse to. I mean, let's say that you look at a snail and you think it's the most, like, it makes you gag just to think about a snail, let alone eating one. Well, you probably shouldn't try escargot. But if you just think, well, I don't necessarily have an adverse reaction to snails, but it just seems weird to me to eat them. Well, give it a shot. I think that's important. And the a lot of people apparently go to these things single, and there's jealousy even then, because sometimes you're there, and if you feel like you have a connection or a bond with somebody that you just meet at a sex party, well, you have to stand there and watch them fool around with all these different people. So I think managing your expectations in certain environments is key. In that environment, you shouldn't be going there looking for a partner. You should be going there for the explicit purpose of getting your rocks off and being a little bit hedonistic about it, because there's all these people to choose from. But more than when we talk about jealousy, I want to go back to this idea of things aren't black and white. And I'm going to be very personal here with this. That when things are in the gray area with dating, for me, that's usually fodder ground for jealousy for me. So people these days, I've noticed many people very non-committal. So before you are actually dating or in a relationship, there's this long period of what we call hanging out, where it's all gray. You haven't committed to dating exclusively yet. And in that environment, if I'm in a hanging out scenario and I'm trying to make plans with somebody and they're like, "Oh, I can't, I have dinner plans tonight," my mind will immediately go to, "Oh, what kind of dinner plans? Dinner with a friend or dinner with somebody else that you're dating? And who is this person that you're dating? And, am I not interesting or enticing enough to keep your calendar open to go and date with me?" And so in that, there's a prime example of where jealousy can rear its ugly head in my dating life, because something about that uncertainty sparks or insecurity. And so I like to have things be more certain. And I know that about myself. So is it okay to know that about myself? Am I capable of knowing that about myself without jealousy playing its evil games inside of me? Because you don't want jealousy to lead to self-talk of insecurity, inadequacy. Why won't somebody, why am I not good enough for someone to commit to me? You want to avoid that kind of thinking. But that jealousy can be illuminating. It can give you an opportunity to explore things about yourself, that scenario is so unsettling.
Absolutely. I think you nailed the core of jealousy, is the feeling that you are not attractive enough or good enough or special enough to hold the attention of the person that you are feeling jealous of. So if I felt, and it's funny, I look back into my own relationships. I have never, I can say that, I have never felt jealous with any partner I have been. Now, I'm not saying that's a good thing, right? I have to look at that and go, wonder why that is, right? Because it's human to feel jealous if, let's say, the person you're with is wandering eyes. My mom accused my dad his whole life of looking at other women. And it was a bone of contention my entire life. That's all I ever heard of. And even this last visit to Canada, she was actually complimenting my father, which she never did when he was alive, and saying all these wonderful things about, his work in China. He was the first foreign expert invited back, and all these things he did great. And I said to her, "Wow, Mom, it would have been great if Dad could have heard you say these nice things about him when he was alive." And she goes, "Yeah, but he looked at all women, everyone." So I was like, "Oh, well, so much for that." But and I look back, the guys that I dated, did they look at other women, and why wasn't I jealous? I'm sure they did. Why wasn't I jealous?
I mean, I think sometimes I look at that if I'm out with a guy and they're looking at other guys, I think there's no harm in looking. I mean, lust is also, it's one of the 7 deadly sins, but it's part of who we are. And I think there's no harm in looking if you're not acting upon it. And frankly, you can even comment together. I mean, if I catch somebody looking, I'll go like, yeah, that guy is pretty damn hot. Yeah, you see his booty? I mean, that's something. Like, I'll call it out because, I don't think you could take it too seriously. And I also think that if you try to paint somebody in a box, and you don't let them be who they are, that is fodder for, infidelity. So, I mean, allow people, some transgressions, harmless transgressions, I think is helpful. And it's illuminating, because you have to ask yourself, if I'm getting all riled up at somebody just looking, maybe there's an opportunity here for self-improvement, to work on, to remind yourself, well, he's going home with me, well, we're living together, whatever it may be. There's an opportunity to affirm yourself and recognize that you have some misplaced insecurity, perhaps.
Yeah. We have to do a station ID, but remind me to come back to the point about, is there any positive thing about being jealous? I think I really want us to deal with that for a second. But if you just tuned in and you're wondering what's going on in studio today, this is Take My Advice. I'm Not Using It, Get Balanced with Dr. Marissa, the morning show on KCAA, AM 1050, FM 106.5, and streaming everywhere. iHeartRadio, Spotify, Stitcher, and of course my YouTube channel, Dr. Marissa Pay, free subscribe, and you'll get all 1,183 636 consecutive weeks on the air on camera, and my red carpet playlist. If you want to see me interview Halle Berry, John Travolta, Quincy Jones, etc., you can get that as well. We'll be right back after a quick word from our sponsor today. Don't go away. We'll be back in 2 and 2.
Welcome to Balanced Tai Chi Gong. My name is Dr. Marissa Pei. For the next 28 minutes, we will be slow dancing with the universe in a moving meditation that promotes inner peace, one breath at a time. Just follow the sound of my voice and move with me as I guide you through this ancient wisdom through New Thought practice. As a corporate psychologist, I created this practice in response to my life and those of my clients. We were professional, high achievement-oriented, multitasking control freaks and exhausted. No matter how many successes, it was never enough. That, coupled with a painful life experience, led me on a quest to find another way to live and back to my Chinese roots. If you practice regularly, I can promise you that it will impact all health vortexes, body, mind, spirit, soul. You will be in a place of balance and inner peace the way we were created. 谢谢.
Be my partner, dance.
Take back your life with Dr. Marissa Pay.
And we're back. You're tuned in to Take My Advice. I'm Not Using It. Get Balanced with Dr. Marissa, the morning show on the station that leaves no listener behind. Number one talk in the IE. And this is our very special, popular Thursday series called Straight Talk with Dr. Marissa and
James Hawthorn.
And we're talking about green jealousy, that how many-headed monster that some of us, I was saying, I don't feel it. And maybe I'm thinking there's something wrong with me that I don't feel jealous when I see the person that I'm with. And I'm trying to think, was there a time when they were jealous of me? And I would say yes. That has happened. And it's not necessarily that I was looking at another guy, although it did happen once in my marriage. He thought I was having an affair because he found a love note from a colleague who's gay, but he didn't know he was gay. And so that was almost a positive thing, because my husband was not good at expressing his emotions. So honestly, that was like one of the first times when I actually thought he might care, which is kind of bad. But I think of other guys that I've been with, and one guy said, I don't mind being priority number 2 or 3, after your kids, but I'm priority 10. So
Yeah, that's
not going to work. And that he was jealous. I don't know if it was jealous. He was healthy, right? By saying, if you want to be in a relationship with me, you're going to have to put me up, as a priority. So those are my only 2 thoughts personally about jealousy. And you shared the sex party one. Anything else?
I mean, that's an extreme one. I mean, I shared my personal kind of airing out my laundry here, but in that hangout phase, you as you said, is there anything positive about jealousy? And so when I look at, when those feelings come up of, well, I get anxious. Is this going anywhere? Am I wasting time hanging out with this person when there could be somebody else? So, if I'm crazy about somebody, I want to flat out tell them, hey, listen, you're free to do whatever you want. I want to give people that freedom. I get it if, you want to hang out, but I'm just going to tell you, I'm really not that interested in going on dates with other people right now. So I might express my intention rather than trying to paint them in a corner. Like, for example, you can't look at other women, to talk about your mom to your dad. I'm just going to at least say, here's where I'm at. So I think that jealousy can be a cue that, okay, I need to communicate what I want with this partner. And they'll either, once I make them aware of that, maybe I can shorten the hangout window sooner. And they can either tell me, hey, I don't think this is going anywhere. Or, all right, you know what? I really like spending time with you too. The heck with it. I don't need to date anybody else. Let's give it a shot. So, you can't make anybody do anything. But maybe you can at least make your feelings known and give them an opportunity to help you get what you want sooner. And if they don't, you discover incompatibility sooner and you can move on. So maybe that's one positive. It flags an opportunity to express what you want, because I think a lot of times jealousy comes along when we're not getting what we want or what we need. So that's one thing I'd say, to go back to that scenario. And then I think there's a growth opportunity where it's like you have to get comfortable with things being unknown and out of your control, because I think life's just easier when you can do those things. I think that is an inherent positive. So there's an opportunity to grow. And then there's also an opportunity to say, hey, I need to tell them what I do want, because since I'm jealous, it's a sign that I'm not getting what I want or need.
Mm-hmm. Good points. I think that accepting that jealousy is a human emotion and not judging it is important. And if you are feeling jealous, you mentioned earlier, the first thing to do is, why am I feeling jealous? And is this even warranted, or am I being unreasonable? So going back to that hangout period, we're both single, we're both dating, I've been swiping, and I'll never forget the very first guy that I went out with. And by the way, my statistics are still 12 dates, first dates only, no second dates. So just so we're keeping statistics here. So those are my statistics. But I can remember the first date. He was upset because I didn't remember that he had put on his profile that he was vegan. And I was like, how many people are only one profile at a time? You're focused on that one. I mean, I think everybody's swiping multiple. You're having multiple conversations at least.
Right.
How am I supposed to remember? It's bad because sometimes we'll graduate to talking on the phone. I don't even know who I'm talking to. And I'm trying to side bring up their profile. It's embarrassing. But I think that it's unreasonable to be jealous in that initial period. And if you're jealous that they are dating other people, but you're dating other people, that's a huge, okay, you can't have your cake and eat it too. And why are you taking this personally when it's nothing about you? Everybody is splattering their seed all over the place to see if anything's going to stick, or, throwing the spaghetti up against the ceiling to see which one is ready. That's a horrible
That's a very messy metaphor. Messy metaphors with Marissa.
Yeah. I'm obviously still a little jet lagged, but I do want to bring this article back up, because the first one, I was shocked to see a closer look at the findings of this study. The first jealousy factor was sex toys. They may enhance bedroom activities, but they're the leading cause of relationship jealousy, with 34% of respondents feeling insecure about their partner's use of them. Hello?
Wow.
Right? I was
Now,
wow.
I mean, if you find yourself jealous of a rubber toy, that also probably says something about you and the work you've got to do as well. Of all the things to be jealous of, not to jealousy judge, but I mean, I get it. I get that if your partner's using a toy all the time and they're not interested in having sex with you, that's a problem. But if you find yourself jealous of the toy, that says something you probably got to work on inside yourself as well.
Well, I didn't look at the date of this study, but I have to bring up the first guy that I dated when I moved to California. He was a bodybuilder and gorgeous and Italian, and I will never forget when I was going to help myself. He grabbed my hand and said, "That's my job." And I was like, Wow. So it falls into that category, I think. All right. Ex partners. Still friendly exes are the second most common jealousy trigger, with 29% of participants identifying it as an issue. And
we
then
talked about we had a show called 86 to 86 your ex or not, and
yeah,
this comes from some of my personal experience in not doing that. And I can't believe we made it through the whole hour without really talking about jealousy. We didn't in that show, if I recall. So it makes so much sense, because looking back on it, initially I would feel some jealousy about what my exes were up to. But then after a while, I could care less, because I got my own life to worry about. And so, I mean, I think in that regard, jealousy can be a cue that there's something to work on, but I don't think it's ever healthy to let it fester. So when we talked about it, is there ever anything good to be gleaned from jealousy? Speaking of exes and jealousy around that, I think yes, and that it can cue you to certain things, certain changes that need to be made, or introspection or growth opportunities. But I don't think there's ever anything healthy with letting jealousy spin and spin and spin around in your person, in your brain, in your gut, in your heart.
yeah, yeah, for sure. The third and last is social media interaction. Digital conversations with strangers pose a significant concern, causing jealousy in 28% of those surveyed. And I just want to comment on that. It's a tool that I use in my happiness coaching practice. It's called "Are you going to MSU University?" Are you going to MSU University? And MSU stands for Making Shiitake Up.
Mhm.
So you see your partner's social, you see a conversation in the comment section, you immediately go to that, what does that really mean, and you start making stuff up about that conversation. And that is almost always, unless it's so blatant, like I want to blank you or something like that. If it's hey, I like that comment or about whatever, don't go there. And that speaks to what you were saying earlier. If you're feeling a level of insecurity, that kind of an innocuous comment is making you go and make shiitake up about a situation that's not even there. Now, if your partner is not showing they're in a relationship in their status, if they are going to other profiles and making inappropriate comments about the way someone else looks, you got reason. And then my question is not, is he a jerk or is she a jerk? The question is, why are you with someone who does those actions? Hello?
Right. That's very, very legitimate. But I think one of the best ways to stay out of MSU, Making Shiitake Up University, best way to stay out of it, I think, is to journal about your jealousy and meditate. So meditation is about observing your thoughts. So journaling is a way into meditation, observing your thoughts. And I recommend, I've used this myself when my brain's spinning out of control on any given topic or issue. Handwrite, because you can only write so fast. You can type really fast if you're a good type, but writing, you can only do it so fast, and it forces you to slow down your mind. And when you get all of your thoughts out on paper and you read them back, it gives you an opportunity to observe those thoughts and go, well, isn't that crazy? Isn't that silly? Isn't that, I really am, deep towards my graduate degree from MSU here. Like what are the actual facts? And then after that, you can actually make a list of what do I know? And then you can look at all the stuff that was in your head that you made up, and it can provide instant peace. And it can also help you dissipate that jealousy, because jealousy can be very helpful. It can help you realize that you spend too much time at MSU. You have a very active imagination. And when you know that about yourself, you can catch it when you get triggered and you can prevent yourself from spiraling. So
Yeah.
in that regard, jealousy can be an interesting thing in
Tool.
that it can tell you something to work on. But then if you have strategies to dissipate it, I think that's, really helpful. And one time that jealousy might be very helpful is if you know that you're not a jealous person, but you find yourself just all of a sudden feeling very jealous. Maybe that's a cue that you should look into what your partner's up to. Sometimes our instincts, our intuition is dead on. So sometimes if you go, I'm not a jealous person, why am I feeling this way?
Mm-hmm.
It can give you reason to observe your partner's behavior and maybe save yourself a lot of pain if they're being unfaithful or if they're engaging in activities that are just detrimental to the health of your relationship. Sometimes it can be a wake-up call. So
Yeah.
in that regard, if you know yourself and jealousy is rearing its head in a way that is abnormal, that can be a sign that there's some other thing that you're supposed to do. And that can be a really helpful, self-protective mechanism, I think.
Absolutely. And you can ask which head is being raised.
Yeah, you're right. Exactly.
But we're coming up for our last final word. So you can think about that as we close this topic. If you've just tuned in, you can actually rewind and listen to this whole treatise that we've been doing on jealousy, and the tool of drop out of MSU University, which is making shiitake up, but also looking at the positive side of jealousy and allowing yourself to feel the feeling, because it is part of being human and one of our emotions. So I was going to say something really cool and I just forgot it again. This jet lag, I rarely felt jet lag, but I think it's because it's literally 12-hour difference. This is the middle of the night. And I'll think of it when you do your final word. But you can listen to this entire show again. If you've resubscribed to my YouTube channel, you'll find it there. There's a playlist called Straight Talk with Dr. Marissa and
James Hawthorn.
So final word on jealousy. Take it away.
Mine is that jealousy is going to be a companion of yours to the day you die. So learning how to manage it, I think, is key. And I think understanding is a great way to manage. So right at the top, we Googled it and said it can come from fear of rejection, inadequacy, humiliation. So I think if you journal about your jealousy, for one thing, you can prevent it from spinning and spiraling, and you can check your thoughts. And if you do that regularly, you can maybe identify patterns about what sorts of things make you jealous. And if you notice that it's the same kind of thing over and over, you can figure out what brand of jealousy you deal with most. Is it fear of rejection? Is it fear of inadequacy? Is it a possessive thing? And when you understand that about yourself, that can give you fodder for growth, exploration, and then maybe that jealousy isn't such an annoying companion. Maybe that mosquito is in your orb, but it's not buzzing in your ear all the time.
And I'm going to have to cut you off. We're out of time. It's all about balance. And I remembered, I'm disagreeing with you on what meditation is. In my version, it is not watching your thoughts. It is no thought and connecting with that inspiration. But it's rare we disagree. So I wanted to push that in there. But if you would join me in the way we sign out here, it's all about balance. Staying in the gray, peace in, peace out, world peace through inner peace. Tomorrow is the Hollywood Rebel Report, coming back with Ricky Rebel. Thanks for tuning in today. This is my co-host James Hawthorn, and I wishing you the best day ever. We'll see you tomorrow.